Howdy, howdy, fellow movie watchers and friends and foes alike for the tournament. Welcome back. Another Wisco Movie Watchers podcast brought to you by PT Creative. As always, we are your hosts, Evan Davies, Dylan Davies. We have our final round of 64 matchups, the greatest action scene tournament. Dylan, you excited for this one?
Yeah, there's a couple good matchups.
There's a couple good ones here that I know are going to gut you, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Quite a few of them are lopsided, though, I will say.
Yeah, I felt quite lopsided about some, but nonetheless, there's still good discussion points in all of them, and it's going to be interesting to say the least where we go with that. Quick reminder, as we always do, we use a 10-point scale, and we each give, out of 10 points, 8 to 2, 7 to 3, towards one movie or another. If it's a tie, then we got to figure it out from there. Every matchup is randomly seeded, except our number one seed and our play-in games, which we thought were our weakest seeds in the tournament. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, it's just discussion and debate. Let us know your picks in the comment section. We'd love to see that. And let's get to it right now. In the Arnold bracket, our number one seed is Omaha Beach from Saving Private Ryan, taking on our play-in winner of the mall fight from Jackie Chan's Police Story. How'd you weigh this one?
Yeah, so that was a lopsided one, 8 to 2, Saving Private Ryan.
I went 10-0, Saving Private Ryan.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I did like that Police Story. I fought for that pretty hard on the play-in.
Yes, you did.
Because you like John Wick a lot more than I did.
Yes. Specifically that scene. And Police Story is just not my cup of tea.
Yeah. I just liked how crazy the Police Story scene is. Because it is that shit crazy.
Yeah. It's,
there's a bunch of variety in crazy ways.
Yeah.
Which I really do appreciate. I wouldn't say it's the best constructed scene in the world, but
not at all.
Yeah, and that's like the polar opposite to what you get with Saving Private Ryan, which is like one of the most well constructed action war scenes in
ever
movie history. Yeah,
it's for me the quick bit on. And I should have said the one last thing is we focus far more on the loser of every matchup, so there's still more to talk about with the winners.
Yeah.
Quick bit on Saving Private Ryan. As you said, I think it's perfectly constructed. It's the horrors of war there. It's still exhilarating and exciting, but you understand how horrific it is very quickly. And there's some ghastly shit in that scene where you're like, God damn,
yeah.
I didn't think Steven was going to go there. Because that's not usually the Steven Spielberg way. He shows you stuff, but he doesn't usually try to rip at your soul immediately. With Police Story, again, I think it's law of diminishing returns. The mall fight scene is about 7 minutes long. And I kept track. The sound effects sound closer to 1960s Batman. To me, with the fight choreography.
Yeah.
The choreography is incredible. I don't want to take that away from it. But
yeah, it's Jackie Chan. It's going to be good.
To me, it's a lot of law of diminishing returns because you have odd sound effects that continually happen. The amount of people that fall down a story of stairs or more and just get back up is absurd. And the amount of glass cases that are broken in a 2-minute window. Also, I made this equivalency before. I'm a huge pro wrestling fan. You hit a guy with a chair once, it matters. You hit a guy with a chair 15 times in a match, and it still doesn't down him, it doesn't matter.
Sure. I understand that perfectly.
So the first time you go through the glass case, you're like, whoa! Or the second time, maybe, if it's done in a different way, you can maybe argue it. Like 5 characters go through a glass display case, and I think one is impressive. Otherwise, it's just getting kicked into the back, which not saying the kick isn't cool, but if the finish is always the glass case, then that's
Yeah.
the drawback for me.
Um, we did talk about it during the play, and so if you want a little more discussion on that, go back and listen to it. But like how lax the rules are for stunt work in China and Hong Kong. So like the
It's
way they
wild.
get away with it, like pads that are like super thin and stuff, doing the stunt work on that. So like I gave it 2 points, being kind of generous, but also I gave it 1 point specifically for the motorcycle being used as a weapon.
Oh my god.
Because I love that moment in the fight. It's so funny to me. So yeah, I mean
Again,
it.
I think there's
I
some
gotta
cool
give it
stuff.
some points at least.
I think there's some cool stuff, but I don't think that cool stuff is used to the best of its ability.
Yeah,
And it's shot and presented more like a music video than it is a movie fight scene.
yeah. I'm actually wondering because it's directed by Jackie Chan. I'm wondering if that's his first movie he directed.
Because that, again, the slide down the pole from multiple floors down and all the lights are breaking, that's
Yeah,
a really cool shot. But again, they show it to you 3 different times from 3 different angles, but
yeah,
the
and
angle doesn't change much.
it's also not the most impressive stunt of the scene.
Right.
So that's what doesn't make sense to me.
So that's where, again, there's a lot of
Okay,
cool
so
stuff.
it's actually his fifth movie. So hmm,
Okay, then. Again, there's some cool stuff. I like the character work in it, but it's a lot of repetitiveness where
yes,
Omaha Beach does not have that issue.
yeah, no Spielberg movie does. So
So
it's it's a clear winner. Yeah,
so we have 18-2 victory for Saving Private Ryan. Police Story. Thank you for coming.
and I'll say it's the same thing with the next matchup.
Our next matchup, which is sounding like it's going to gut me next round in the round of 32, we have the flight test sequence from Top Gun Maverick taking on the church massacre in Kingsman: The Secret Service. How did you score it?
9-1, Top Gun Maverick.
I also had 9-1 Top Gun Maverick,
Yep.
which already I'm heartbroken because I think I know what's going to happen to my baby next round.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup.
So,
Again, that's one I'm gonna have to do some research for, I think.
so let's give the 30-second of Top Gun Maverick here. Why it's a lopsided victory. The ability to make stakes and stay within thematic work, I should say, within a 3 to 4 minute clip when there's no adversary chasing him, there's no fighters against him, it's just him against the laws of nature and
Yeah.
his machine, and it still is this intense sequence where you're like, come on, and you're just rooting for the character so much.
Yeah.
It's so impressive that is just a half of it is just the computer simulation of or mapping of what that scene is for him in his flight. So it's insane how well that movie goes into
Yeah.
action
Well, I would
oriented that
say,
scene.
yeah, I'd say that scene is like the perfect encapsulation of that character.
Yes.
Because it's like he's being a rogue, he's gonna do his own thing, he's being literally a maverick.
Yes.
And then but he's also like proving to the younger guys that it's possible.
Yes.
So he's also like being the mentor that he should be. So
And it's the moment where he's finally learned, and it's the moment where you already knew he knew it, but now he's proven it for the last time, most likely, that it's not all about him. It's a great character scene as well. So again, Top Gun Maverick is so good. Now let's go to Kingsman. As you said, law of diminishing returns and repetitiveness. Does this fall into your one-er shot style?
yes, 100%.
So Dylan said this in a lot of previous episodes. He can't stand the oneer shot or the one where it looks like it's just one continuous shot all the time.
It's not that I can't stand it. It's that if it doesn't have a purpose for it, then why do it?
Sure.
And this is definitely a scene where it's just it looks cool, and that's why they did it. Because there's no obvious reason why they did it.
I think there's some story to it that it's just the sound cue from the microchips or whatever or SD cards or whatever it is from Kingsman and Samuel Jackson's villain makes people murderously crazy. It's a comic book movie, so it's important to note. It's going to be ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what's interesting is you're seeing all these people go wild, and in the middle of it, you have super spy, secret agent, amazing fighter, also just blowing people away.
Yeah.
And outside of 1 to 2 shots, he doesn't take a single lick of damage. It's just him mowing people down.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's really cool and impressive the first time you see it. Having said that, though, yeah, it's law of diminishing returns. How many times can you see him spin, shoot, spin, shoot, spin, hit, all those kind of things. The cutaways are really smart. I like that because it gives slight moments of breathing room. And again, I don't want to be overly negative because all these scenes are great.
Oh, no. I mean, it's still a great scene, and it has, like, in terms of the way it's mapped out for a oneer, it's, like, well done. It's just, it could just as easily be not a oneer, you know? Like, they could easily just put cuts in it.
Yeah.
Which is why I say, like, it's not necessary to be a oneer. That's my critique of that part of it. But it's still a good scene other than that. Like, the action is good.
Yes, and it's fun to see people just ape shit, and the setting is perfect for that. You know, religious fervor on edge is fun, especially as two people who are as non-religious as you can probably get.
Yes.
We both love that. So, taking our own personal beliefs out of it, though, it's interesting to see. Great use of Freebird. You gotta give him that. The use of Freebird in that shot is next level greatness. I forgot.
Yeah, there's quite a few scenes in Kingsman that are actually like really well done action.
Oh yeah, that's great action. It's a great action movie. Kingsman's a great movie. It's just simply it went up against a juggernaut today.
100%.
The thing that restores it, where I gave them the point, is the cutaways to character, where you can see everyone. You can see the two Kingsman guys rooting, like, "What are you doing? Stop!" Like, show some restraint, and you can even see the main villain is like too squeamish to watch it, and then Sofia Boutella's main henchman, she's all about it, she loves it, so it's fun to see the character interactions for it. That's why I gave it the point. Otherwise, if it was just the straight action, I don't know if I would have even given it a point up against Top Gun Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
Because the character work in Top Gun Maverick is superb. But again, a lot of fun, great use of music. There is great action and great fight choreography in it, and the setting is perfect for it.
It's actually like very, very comparable to the Atomic Blonde scene. Except I would say Atomic Blonde does it better because they actually give reason for the oneer in the way that they actually show people getting tired during the scene. So, which is something that Kingsman doesn't do. So
Kingsman's,
they're very comparable scenes. So,
but that's an interesting comparison right there. So we have Top Gun Maverick with an 18-2 victory going up against Kingsman, and we have a juggernaut fight in round 2 coming with Saving Private Ryan taking on my beloved Top Gun Maverick. I'm already crushed. All right, let's go to what is. Again, you could tell that all these were randomly seeded because there's no way I would have put these two together.
I was going to say, I am kind of upset about this matchup.
We have the comedic battles or the comedic fight scenes up for debate. Here, it is the news team fight from Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, taking on the Manson family attack, or the final attack scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. How'd you score it?
I did 7-3 Once Upon a Time.
I went 5-5 Once Upon a Time. Or I went 5-5. I couldn't pick a winner.
Okay. Yeah. They're both really fun.
Yes.
The reason I gave Once Upon a Time the edge is the Anchorman scene is definitely like more bits and gags rather than a fight scene.
Sort of, yeah.
Because it like out of nowhere it'll just out of nowhere it will just show Brick with a fucking trident throwing it at someone. Like there's no coherency to the action in the Anchorman fight.
Yeah, so let's take Once Upon a Time in Hollywood quickly. I was laughing my ass off when I saw that scene again. I've seen a part of that scene before. I've never seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood all the way through. I've seen it in pieces, and I've seen part of that scene. And I was like, I kind of remember this. But I was laughing my ass off while rewatching it because it's just the sheer absurdity of it. But to end the way it ends, where you're just... everything is so contradictory of what's supposed to be happening, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The only question you can have is really, what the fuck am I watching?
In Tarantino's world, the bad guys always get killed.
They'll take more people out along the way, but in the end, they always do lose. So that is the way it should be done. Yeah. But again, excellent cinematography and character work in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Going back to Anchorman, the reason I called it a tie was, although Tarantino movies aren't really genre movies, they're just kind of whatever Quentin wants to make them. You know, like, he picks one overarching thing.
He kind of has his own thing.
Yes. And inherently throughout that movie are you trying to build to what essentially becomes a strictly comedic fight scene. I would say I'm fine with it. I'm not against it whatsoever, but is that the crux of what we're trying to do? Where Anchorman takes a scene and just ranks the absurdity up more and more, but it fits perfectly for what it is, because they already started teasing the rivalries between the news team and the fact that they're like, no, we'll meet in the San Diego streets and just kill each other. It's fine. As long as we don't touch the hair or face, it's fine. So that's why I gave it a tie, because I think one works so well as a high point of a movie. And Once Upon a Time, again, I'm lacking tone. That's the only thing that I was like, there's so many good moments where everybody gets to shine in the fight scene in Anchorman that I was like, okay, I gotta keep this a tie. I couldn't pick one.
Yeah, I understand that. There's a lot of great moments in the Anchorman one. And then like the smash cut to the, well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
That's like iconic at this point, and it's like a meme.
Oh, it's one of the memes where everyone's like,
yes,
wow, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast. What's funny is I hadn't watched Anchorman in at least 5, if not 10 years, and I rewatched it a couple weeks ago with Ab. I still quoted legitimately the entire movie. It's still in my brain because I used to love Anchorman. At one time was my favorite movie at the time. Mm-hmm. So, but when it got to that fight, I was like, I forgot how good this was, and it's actually covered really well, but it still keeps a comedic tone where it doesn't turn into this battle scene that you're like, what? It still has this comedic overtone, but it's covered and shot so well where you can clearly understand where everybody is, what's happening, how it's happening, why it's happening. And again, everybody gets a little moment to shine. And that's just Cameo City. It's just like, oh yeah, let's get Vince Vaughn, and let's get Luke Wilson, and let's get Tim Robbins of all people. and then Ben
Yeah.
Stiller. You're like, what the fuck is happening in this movie?
Yep.
Oh god, I love it. But again, what is your favorite moment of the news team fight scene?
I think it is the trident.
Ah,
It's so great.
just randomly gets a trident and just
Yeah.
fucking
That moment is especially great because in the like the pre-match when they're explaining it all,
yeah.
the rules, there's no one's carrying a trident. So like it comes out of nowhere.
Yes.
It's just so random.
Well, it starts with Brick. Where'd you get a hand grenade? I don't know. And you're like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are you gonna do with a hand grenade in this fight? Just blow four
Yeah.
people up? And then yeah, like you said, a trident comes out of nowhere. Like, where did the net come from with the two horses? Where did that
Yeah,
come from?
the horses,
That,
yeah.
that drags Santana away. Also, I love the moments of just Champ holding brass knuckles and just takes the guy out, and pro wrestler just throws him like 50 feet, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then just brushes off you.
Also doesn't make sense because Paul Rudd has a straight up revolver. There should be a couple dead people laying there after the fight, but there aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one uses a gun in the fight, so who knows? It doesn't make any sense.
And again, the part that doesn't make sense is the part that works the best, because you're like, wait, what? But because of the tone of the movie, it's perfect. Again, tone of the movie, the way you map these scenes out is crucial. Because if you go one way too far, it doesn't work out very well. Here, it's supposed to be silly. And they're like, let's just steer into the silly. And you can even see that's the only part of Anchorman 2 that works really well. When they redo the news team fight, that's the only sequence that you're like, this is Anchorman. Yeah. I buy into this.
It's a little too heightened in the second one, but it is probably the best part of that movie. Yeah.
Oh, by far. It's by far the best one. Because the whole time, that's what everyone's looking for is, yo, where's the news team fight?
But I think, if I remember right, I think Kanye West is in it, so that gets points knocked off immediately.
Oh, yeah. We got Kanye West, we got Will Smith.
Jim Carrey's in there.
Jim Carrey and Marion Cotillard are the Canadian news team.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You have Harrison.
Isn't there Ghost or something?
Yes, it's John C. Reilly as the ghost of Stonewall Jackson, and he appears with the history. Okay. He appears with the History Channel. Sacha Baron Cohen is the English news team. Yeah, Harrison Ford is a were-hyena or a were... Not a werewolf, but it's a were something. You have entertainment news with Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. The History Channel is led by Liam Neeson. You're just like, who else did they get to be in this fucking movie? Like, that's the part that's great about it. Greg Kinnear shows back up, and he has, psychic powers, and proves that Ron was right the entire time. It just makes no fucking sense in it. But that's the best part about that movie, is you're just waiting for that, and they just went, fuck it, just give them everything. Who cares?
Yeah.
Kirsten Dunst is in that scene as well, where she's blowing the horn to start the battle like a Greek fucking god. It's so fucking weird. I love that scene so much. But again, the original is still better.
Yeah, 100%.
The fact that Ron pulls out a table leg and that's his weapon, he just pulls it out of his suit. It's so stupid.
I was wondering what it was, because I was like, it's a club of some sort, but I couldn't tell what it is.
Yeah, it's just a table leg. It's just a table leg because it has too much architecture to it.
That would be a great weapon.
It would, and I love that. He and Vince Vaughn, Wes Mantooth, are the only two that keep their original weapons and use them to their fullest. Mm-hmm. Where Vince Vaughn's going to stab him in the heart with this little switchblade.
Yes.
And Ron's just randomly swinging the fucking posted
Yeah.
around.
I don't know who has the least effective weapon, Ben Stiller or Vince Vaughn. The whip versus that little knife. Because Vince Vaughn's knife is like straight out of West Side Story.
Yes.
And it kind of begins with like West Side Story with
Oh yeah.
like the Sharks and the Jets.
Well, you're already excited because it's just the two news
When they
teams
pull
that
around
you
the
know.
corner on the fucking bikes.
Yeah.
It's so fucking cheesy. It's great though.
I fucking love that scene. So, heartbreakingly, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood wins 12-8 and takes out Anchorman. I am interested to see, we did say we're going to do this at the end of the tournament, where Anchorman racks up against others. Because I think there are a couple movies here that Anchorman could have beat.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I'd agree.
So it's going to be interesting when we stack rank these, how far Anchorman could have. We'll go to our next battle. Two chase scenes with very different vehicles here. We have the helicopter chase scene and attack, escape, whatever you want to call it, from Mission Impossible 6, Fallout, taking on the car chase scene from Bullitt, starring Steve McQueen. How'd you split it?
Yeah, 8-2.
Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible.
Same deal, 8-2 Mission Impossible.
I really want to give Bullitt credit for all it is, because it really like forward the whole kind of action genre. Like this, the original Bond movies with Sean Connery, like those are the original action movies.
Yeah, where stuff happens for the sake of stuff.
Because there aren't action movies like we know action movies now.
Yes.
Where it's like the characters are actual like, cops and stuff like that. And they're doing action things. Back in the day, cop movies were like all investigative movies. Like they were
very procedural,
action.
noir stuff. Yeah.
Action movies at best back in the day were like usually war movies, and that's about it. So,
which is why they were super appealing, because it was the only time you could see big stuff like.
Yeah. And also one of the things to consider in the Bullitt scene is the reason it's really hard to like consider the differentiation of the scenes is like the cameras back then were probably so much bigger than what we have in this modern world, where like they were probably so limited in what they could do in a chase scene.
Sure. So we've gone into Bullitt, so let's cover Bullitt. I loved the cinematography in this. I loved it. I was floored by how good it was. The best part, it gets repetitive, and again, I think they do it too much. But the San Francisco streets are perfect for this.
Oh yeah,
this chase scene.
Great setting.
And the downhill shots where they constantly are getting air, that's awesome. Because you're showing the natural danger of just having to drive in San Francisco with speed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're putting on the, I'm being chased. Or, on the flip side, Steve McQueen, I have to avoid everything that they're putting in front of me and chase him, all while actually taking on one of the most difficult cities to drive in that manner.
Yeah.
And you, like, any movie, there's multiple movies that obviously use San Francisco as their backdrop for an action movie. Most recently, I'd say the best use of it is Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Bus scene that is a perfect setting for car chases, because the natural danger that everybody knows exists is heightened. And if you've ever driven in San Francisco like I have, I can tell you it's a giant pain in the ass. So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, if it was purely based on like use of setting and stuff like that, Bullitt is better. It's just Tom Cruise is so good at what he does.
There's a reason we named a bracket after him.
Yeah, exactly. The Mission Impossible scene, I think, is best before he actually gets into the helicopter.
Yeah, I would argue the same.
Yeah, I prefer it when he's trying to get into it rather than when he's in it.
Again, that's another one of those. We talked about this with the Ghost Protocol scene, which is the number 1 seed in our cruise bracket. And he's just trying to top that
Mm-hmm.
scene always, which is just makes Mission Impossible so much fucking to watch because
Yeah.
it's like watching that athlete that won the MVP in the Super Bowl and now he has to go do it again and he feels the pressure to go do it, but he has the ability to pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, God damn, this guy's good. God damn it, he's good. When he falls from the payload and is hanging on by a thread, holy shit.
Yep.
It's
Yeah. I
incredible.
I remember watching that in the theaters and just being like, "Oh fucking shit, this is fucking stressful."
Oh yeah, no,
Like,
it's extremely stressful. And that's where I'll take it back and not go too much into Fallout is I think the how long of a cut did you watch of Bullitt? How long of a scene did you watch?
I think it was probably like 4 minutes, maybe.
So I watched the full 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So it's got like 2 minutes of setup and then it starts slow and then keeps ramping up. Also, they get outside of San Francisco mighty fucking quick, mind you. Uh, but
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've watched that. I watched it, I think, back in when I was in college.
yeah,
So it's been a while since I've seen the movie.
I watched a full 10-minute cut of the chase scene. And I feel like it ramps up slowly, but it gets there, and I'm okay with the slow burn to get you there. Once it's in, it's exciting, but it's somewhat repetitive. They haven't. You can tell it's exactly like you said that it is the start of a genre
Mm-hmm.
because they haven't learned the editing to make it more thrilling and
Yeah.
exciting, or they haven't learned that okay, instead of putting the camera down here where we can see everything going downhill, what if we put one at the top of the hill so we see the air and we can exaggerate to the mind's eye how big of a jump they have to make every time they go down the hill. You know, have one of the times it edges another car so you get a little bit of the thrust of something happening. There's ways to improve that scene. It's not inherently fair because again, that scene is damn near perfect for a chase sequence of its time.
I will also give it credit for not, at least the parts that I watched. I don't know about the 10-minute version. It didn't use speed cranking, which was really, really a common thing back in the day with those early Bond movies where, like, all of a sudden the frame rate will just change and people will start moving quicker than they actually were moving in real life.
Sure. Nah, yeah, they don't do that whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't happen in mine, so I was
Uh,
wondering if it did in
and
yours.
also, I will say, two classic cars going against each other. That Mustang, but specifically that Charger.
That's got to be worth quite a bit, that model.
Oh, dude, that I mean, half of America's like dream muscle car is that Charger.
Yeah.
So
It's probably because of this fucking
well,
movie.
it's that, and then other movies and other shows continually use it because they're inspired by it. So I first learned about that car in Burn Notice, the USA show that I loved growing up.
Uh-huh.
When I was a teenager, I was like, "That's the car I want." Like even when I was 15, the basest you could get to find that car is 300 grand. So,
Oh, okay. So, yeah. A lot.
so to get something like that would be absurd. But again, it's used in so many properties. It just looks so good. And it brings the cool factor up where you're like, oh, the bandits are using a Charger. Rad. And then you've got Steve McQueen, classic American icon, blonde hair, blue eyed, baby face. Oh, let's put him in the American car, especially at the time with the Ford
Mhm.
Mustang. And you're like, nice.
Yeah. Steve McQueen also has a really great motorcycle chase in The Great Escape. He's he can do it all.
Oh, yeah. But here we're going to have
Also,
Bullet lose out to
just
Fallout.
just because I'm obsessed with Zodiac, shout out Dave Tosky, the guy, the detective in that movie. Bullet, the way he wears his gun is based off Dave Tosky.
Ah, okay.
fun fact from that movie.
Interesting. Okay.
Also, I am excited because Spielberg is making a Bullitt movie. I don't think it's a remake. I think it's like a different story, but using that same character. So
Oh, okay.
could be good. I think it's supposed to come out next year, I want to
My
say.
only concern is there's been a rash in the last 10 years of things that Steven's been connected to and then they get canceled.
Yeah. I mean, well, one sec. I'm on IMDb right now, actually.
Because my
I'll just
concern
see.
is he was supposed to do a comic book movie. They finally got him on board to do one. He was going to do, was it Blackhawks?
So, okay, so he's at least right now the on the upcoming part of his IMDb, it only lists three things. One episode of a mini series of Napoleon, the untitled Frank Bullitt project, and then an untitled Amblin Universal event film. So,
Okay.
not sure.
I mean, I'd be happy to get him back in the saddle for anything action, so that'd be rad.
Apparently, Bradley Cooper is attached to play Frank Bullitt.
That's, I think, a good choice, and I think is a really smart idea for Bradley Cooper because he hasn't been doing a lot of stuff that people love
I
recently.
agree. Yeah, he's definitely got into that serious mode. So,
And I think he needs to go do another one for the people, so to speak.
I'd agree.
So that's great. And clearly, just from the 10, I've never seen Bullet all the way through. Just from the 10 minutes I watched, I was intrigued. I was very impressed.
Yeah, I remember liking it.
All right, we'll take us to our second half of the episode. We're gonna go next matchup again. Lopsided, and it sucks because it's gonna be lopsided. The bus and train crash in the Fugitive, taking on from Mad Max Fury Road. The way I have it cut is the dropping of the oil tanker, like the big circular spherical oil tanker, through when one of the brides is lost in.
Okay.
So
I
it's
didn't
about
know
8
where you
minutes.
cut it off.
It's about
But
8 minutes, but that's the sequence. Is they're being chased by Morton Joe. They get through, and then the motorbikes are constantly jumping over the tanker caravan, and it is fucking incredible. So I scored this 9-1 in favor of Mad Max.
I was going to say, I knew you were going to be lopsided. Mine is not. It's 6-4.
Okay.
I love The Fugitive. So
You do love The Fugitive. I've learned that through this podcast that you are very
yeah,
much in love with The Fugitive.
on my top 100, I think it's in the 50s or 40s. So that's the reason why. Hey, finally, you understand why I called it the bus/train sequence.
Yeah.
Like, couldn't explain it any better. Um, so this is something I'm gonna have to send you like a picture or something. There's this thing called Introvision that they used. Um, the part when Harrison Ford is jumping off that bus
Mm-hmm.
right before he right before the train hits the bus. There's this, yeah, the technology is called Introvision, and apparently when you looked at the camera inside the camera, you would see that exact shot. So Harrison Ford, it looked like he was literally standing on that bus, but he wasn't.
Ah, okay.
It's like it's instead of rear projection, it's kind of like front projection, and it involves mirrors and a beam splitter. It's like really complicated. I'll send you a
Oh.
picture, and maybe you can throw that up for a second. It's really hard to explain. Um, but when you perfectly line up the beam splitter with the projection, then you get two planes of view, and
Okay.
it looks, and then you everything would be in camera. So it looks like Harrison Ford is standing on that bus, but he's not.
Oh, okay. That's
It's
really.
really yeah, it's really cool. I like the suspense of it when he's running with the shackles and everything.
I liked the character work. So the reason, so let's be candid. I voted for Mad Max as number one seed. That's where I think Mad Max belongs.
Yeah.
Mad Max was almost impossible to pick what was going to be the scene, and we settled on this. Mad Max is what I think people of a certain age would believe Die Hard should have been in this tournament, where Die Hard is consistently ramping up, but it ramps up at a level like this, where Mad Max is consistently just going like that all the time. That you could pick virtually any part of the chase sequences from away from the Citadel or coming back from the Citadel, and you would advance in this tournament somewhat easily. Mm-hmm. So, which is why I was like, Mad Max has to be that high. So I want to say my bias here, but it's because I truly believe Mad Max Fury Road is a perfect movie.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. I wouldn't go that far, but it's damn near.
It's fucking incredible. And the fact that it didn't win Best Picture bothers me, but that's a different story. But yet, like I said, haven't watched Spotlight yet. Finally watched The Martian, though, so I know some of its competition.
Mad Max is definitely better than The Martian.
I would agree with that. So, and I like The Martian. I think it's damn good, but it ain't Mad Max Fury Road. Good.
No, exactly.
It ain't Mad Max Fury Road. And Mad Max Fury Road is a one of one. Like it took the idea of speed and just went.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one thing that I could see being Mad Max's like downfall is that it's very comparable to Speed, where it's all action the entire time.
I think they do a couple of quiet scenes throughout to make sure you do have a breath. Because the first time you watch it, you feel like you're holding your breath the entire time. So.
The only one I can think of is when they get to that little like oasis with the women.
Yeah.
Are there any more?
That's the only one I can think of. There's a lot of small stuff where they have the tension's still there, but Max has them all at gunpoint in the tanker. But it's not an action, oh my god, things are blowing up, and it's just you're learning about the characters in the conversation. The moments of, oh, we're going to wash off the water and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to learn about Max and him and Furiosa, have a fight hand to hand.
Yeah, that's true.
Afterwards, we have that when they see the dead tree and they kind of have to take that 30 seconds to a minute to do some setup and have some conversation. There are moments very strategically placed everywhere to give you a breath. Because I remember rewatching
enough of a break,
where that's obviously not what we're talking about, but that's kind of the justification for Matt. Going to The Fugitive, I was already interested in seeing The Fugitive. That's one I'm continually checking where it's streaming or when it's streaming because I want to watch it. Mm-hmm. You don't have that in your Vudu, do you?
I was about to say I'm gonna check right now because I think I do.
So, with The Fugitive, I think that scene's tremendous because there is so a clearly delineating line of who the babyface is and who the heel is.
Yes.
And the fact that Harrison Ford is abandoned by everybody and still tries to get that guard out of the bus and try to help him shows this is a good man.
There's a lot of great moments like that in the movie.
Where you can still see that he's a good man. And also Harrison Ford is a perfect choice for that because you always want to root for Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I think there's been I've seen one moment of Harrison Ford as a heel on screen and I hate it. And it's not because it's bad, it's just because no. You don't boo Harrison Ford. Fuck you. You cheer Harrison Ford.
Especially at that moment in his career where he's like on top of the world still.
Yeah.
So I'm just scrolling.
I'll give you a nice little fun fact about The Fugitive. The Fugitive causes the first and only appearance of Indiana Jones with a beard.
When's that?
So during this time, do you recall knowing the Young Indiana Jones series?
The series. Yes.
Yeah, so it became like essentially educational programming. Harrison Ford made one appearance, and it was during the shooting of The Fugitive. It was like while he was on a break or something. So they shot the entire thing on his estate in Wyoming, which is why it looks incredible because it's just out in the middle of fucking nowhere, Wyoming. And he
Mm-hmm.
has a beard, and it's the one time Indiana Jones has ever appeared with a beard because he's shooting The Fugitive,
It makes sense.
and it's rad, and I fucking love it.
Isn't it like a prologue or something?
Sort of. Like he is introducing the rest of the show.
Okay. Yeah,
But
that's what I've heard.
it's the one and only time Harrison Ford actually appears in that show, which I've never watched a full episode of that. The idea of a young Indiana Jones TV series is interesting in theory, not in
Yeah,
practice.
exactly.
So, plus Indiana Jones without Harrison Ford just feels wrong.
Yeah, the only way you could get away with that is if River Phoenix was still alive.
Yeah, I would have
That's
been
the
okay with.
only way.
I would have been okay if River was the one to do it because River
I
was
do not
incredible.
have it on Voodoo.
Okay, but yeah, that's why. That's the only time Indiana Jones ever has a beard. It's because of The Fugitive, and frankly, I think it was worthwhile.
Yeah, that must have been at a very specific time because eventually he shaves that in the movie.
Exactly. So, but again, the mapping of the train and the bus is incredible. There's shown to be intelligence in that character, which is really good. I went in thinking like, oh, this should be good. Dylan fought for this, and I went in like, holy shit, this is really good. And I loved even the interaction at the end where the prisoner's like, I don't care where you go, just don't follow me. Okay, be good,
Yeah.
knowing full well the guy was complicit in murdering people to escape.
Hey, he's not a cop. He's a doctor.
Yeah. So, but I appreciate it nonetheless. A Fugitive again. I think the Fugitive scene could have taken out some more movies. It just got a bad draw.
I would agree. Yeah.
So we have a win 15-5 for Mad Max. You went 6-4 Mad Max, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I had to give some points to the fugitive.
I think the Fugitive is really good. I If the Fugitive draws one of the other movies in this bracket, I could have saw a 7-3 or a 6-4 as well because I think the character work in it is great. The problem is it's going up against what I think has an
True.
argument as the best action movie ever. So,
Yeah.
alrighty, let's go to our next one. One of our female-led movies. We have the No Man's Land sequence, which is the entering out of the trench of Wonder Woman, where she's just swatting bullets with her shield. It's the super emotional introduction of her in costume for the first time versus the club shootout sequence in Collateral. And it's the second Michael Mann entry, which is also interesting. How did you score this?
7-3 Wonder Woman.
I went 9-1 Wonder Woman.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I want to say my bias right away. This is one of my favorite scenes in movie history.
oh, okay.
It's so emotional for me as a Wonder Woman fan, as a comic book fan, a DC nerd. But beyond that, I think this is the perfect melding of what it means to introduce a character and what it means to be an action. Like it's one of those moments where you go, that's why you're a hero. This moment, it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the things that a lot of the DC movies lack, which is a hero moment, like a true hero moment.
Yes.
Because Man of Steel doesn't have something like that where it's a true like 100% triumphant moment.
Yes.
Man of Steel doesn't have it. Batman v Superman definitely doesn't have it.
Nope.
Suicide Squad, no.
No.
I'm trying to think of other DC
I
movies.
mean, they have lesser moments in Shazam and Aquaman where they get to be. Aquaman's got one with the Karathan, which is fun, but it's not the same impact because he's going up
Yeah.
against a giant kaiju. He's not going up against, the evils of the world in World War I and showing how much how they care.
I think that's the only bad thing about that is I wish it was World War II. Then she'd be killing Nazis, which would be awesome.
The ultimate pass is if your villains are. It's why Indiana Jones is so good. It's a perfect. The heel is automatically the heel. There's
Yeah,
no
and
there's no argument of, well, I mean, it's like, no, they're Nazis. Fuck the Nazis,
yeah,
man.
and immediately if they die, if someone kills them, you're just like, yeah, okay,
You were a Nazi.
like,
You deserved it.
yep, you're like, yeah, okay, whatever, doesn't matter to me.
So, yeah, I just think music, the character work, everything in this scene for Wonder Woman is damn near perfect, if not perfect. And that is
Yeah,
that one scene is the high point of the entire DCEU, and I would argue of all the DC movies outside of the Dark Knight and the Batman, that's like the moment of the entire DC movie canon from Superman onward. Is at that moment. I'm not saying the movie itself. I think there's a few movies that are better, but in terms of that moment, outside of stuff from the Dark Knight and the Batman, I would say it's the peak of
yeah.
DC filmmaking.
Off the top of my head, yeah, I can't think of anything in Batman Begins or Dark Knight Rises. So
Um,
yeah,
it's just
So-
incredible. So that's why Wonder Woman takes it. Let's go to Collateral. It was an interesting scene, and shot in a really unique way, which I really appreciated.
well, it's definitely Michael Mann's style.
Yes.
He has his own style, which is usually handheld, usually I wouldn't say frenetic editing. It's not as bad as Born or anything,
No.
but it's usually quick editing,
It's
at least during
interesting.
the actions.
Well, that's the thing. It's interesting, and that's why I think the action scenes stand out in his movies, because the rest of his movies are so. The rest of the movie is slow. The Heat is slow, and the only time
Yeah.
it has speed is during an action movie. And it seemed
Well,
like
same
Collateral
thing.
is similar to that.
Yes, same thing with Public Enemies. Yeah.
Yeah, same deal. It's very slow burn. Very much just lets it smolder. Let's just be. And Michael Mann must be really good at cooking barbecue. Just let it be. Don't touch it. Just let it be.
Yeah. I do enjoy his style at times. When it lends itself to the subject matter, it's good.
I think it'd be really interesting to see a war film from Michael Mann, where Michael
I
Mann is great at making you understand. You root for the heel in every movie. You never root for the babyface. Because when you look at it on the surface of all the big movies that he's made, Heat, you're rooting for De Niro. Collateral, you're rooting for Tom Cruise. You know,
Ye-
Public
well,
Enemies, you're rooting for Johnny Depp's John Dillinger. You're not rooting for Christian Bale.
yeah, I would say during Collateral, his style actually lends to the moments with Tom Cruise because to me, I always get like a very cold feeling from Michael Mann. It never feels warm. It never feels inviting or welcoming. It
Yeah.
always just comes off as like distant and cold. Um, Same thing. There's a movie called Manhunter, which is like either a prequel or just a side story of The Silence of the Lambs,
Okay.
Hannibal Lecter,
Yeah.
that he did. It's like one of his early movies in the 80s. And that also has that really cold style. And that really lends to the subject matter because it's like about serial killers and stuff. So
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, it's his style. If you love it, you love it. I mean, there's a reason. There's a whole swath of specifically men of a certain age. They will die on the hill for Heat and the bank robbery scene being one of the best scenes they've ever
true.
seen. To where Heat had, in my mind, no chance to advance in this tournament. Outside of maybe a few movies, I
What
didn't
did
think
Heat go up
it
against?
went against the original John Wick.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean, it still scored points, but it wasn't. When I
Yeah, I
look
had
at
it split there, but
I outside of a few movies, I don't think Heat had a chance. And I would say Collateral. I think I like the scene in Collateral more than I like the bank robbery scene in Heat.
I'd agree.
It's more efficient with its time. There's someone you're clearly rooting for and you're concerned about. There's more the panic of the bystanders is there, which I really appreciate. And it's a more personal interaction, which I really like, which I think lends to the movie so well. So that's what I would say about that Collateral scene. I think the cinematography is really fun, but far more character focused. This isn't just a shootout in LA. And I know that's derivative to say or derisive to say about Heat because I know that's not exactly what it is, but in comparison, that's what it kind of feels like.
Yeah, yeah. They're both similar in the beginning, where it has a really good build up.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to the climax of the scene, that's when it loses a little bit of steam for me.
Yeah.
Like in Heat, where the moment they start firing guns, it's just like, okay, whatever. Like that's how I feel about it. So,
Sure.
um,
I don't think Collateral
Collateral's
has
kind of.
that. I don't think Collateral has the same level of that.
I would agree. It doesn't fall off as much. So that's why I gave it at least some
It's also
points.
so interesting to see Tom Cruise with gray hair as the villain. That's fun
He's
to see. That's fun to see.
he's great in that movie too.
But it is interesting nonetheless. So Wonder Woman advances 16-4. We'll go to our penultimate matchup, the one that I know is going to hurt Dylan's feelings. We have the Ride of the Rohirrim from Best Picture Oscar winner Return of the King taking on the splitting of the Titanic from Oscar winner Titanic. How did you split it?
I had to be close. 6-4. Lord of the Rings.
8-2 Lord of the Rings.
I knew it was gonna win, so I was like, I'm gonna give Titanic more points.
So the thing is, I tried not to do that. If I knew something you were going to like was going to win, I tried not to do that. I tried to just be as honest with my reaction as possible.
Well, I really love the Titanic scene.
You
so
do.
Like,
so you fought for it. I remember you're like, oh, we got to put that scene from Titanic. I was like, do we?
it's a great scene.
It's an impressive scene nonetheless. So we're going to justify Return of the King, again, is one of the few movies in this tournament, when you look at the links, has 2 clips. Because there's not a great super cut of exactly what we're looking for. You either get the entire Battle of Pelennor Fields, all the way to Aragorn coming back with the Oathbreakers from the mountains, or you get chunks of scenes. So I just took the Ride of the Rohirrim is... I think I have it that it's the 2 minute of desperation before Theoden arrives at the Riders of Rohan. Speech, the initial charge, and the charge through until they're overwhelmed by the giant Mumakil, the giant elephants, the Oliphants, and it's her, and it comes down to Eowyn versus Gothmog, which is the that's real fucking ugly.
Okay.
So that's how I cut it.
Okay. I stopped a little earlier than you, but that's okay. Because it's still 1. It doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. That's we're viewing this the same way we did with Helm's Deep, and the same way we're doing with when we did Duel of the Fates for Phantom Menace, where there's stuff interspliced to make the movie better, but this is really one scene put together. So
yeah, and you want to judge the battle.
Yes.
So Lord of the Rings. Oh, quick tangent, by the way.
Yeah.
How disappointing is the Ghost Army in the Lord of the Rings book? It's so disappointing. I was like, what? What is going on? They do nothing.
I like how every time Lord of the Rings now comes up on this show, you put me in danger of getting hate from a community I'm very proud to be a part of.
Well, I really enjoyed the books, but there's moments in the book where I'm like, huh? What?
It's built up a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And then they just kind of do it and leave.
Yeah, well, and it's like they never like cut to Aragorn or anything. Like
Yeah, they just overrun Pelennor Fields. That's all it
it,
is. So I will say it's the one thing where it's better for the overall characters, but it does leave the great question, like because everybody classically in that community that knows the question when people start to get some knowledge, like, well, if the Eagles can fly, wouldn't the Eagles just? Why didn't they just fly Frodo in and
yeah.
drop it there? It's like, no, there actually are reasons why they can't do that.
Well, besides that, the thing I would say is because there'd be no movie, you fucking asshole. Do you
They're-
want to watch? Do you want to watch that movie?
yeah.
No. So why? What are you complaining about?
So what's interesting is that community's already used to stuff like that. But it does raise a great question. You have to fulfill their oath. You know you're going to have to go and fight in Mordor no matter what with an army.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you
Let's
just
save
say
them.
I need you for this battle? It's one of those that it's great because it shows the character of men is still worthy. It's not what it's portrayed to be early on, where men are broken, they can't do anything anymore in the world. But it's certainly one of those where you're like, I understand why Tolkien makes the choices that he does, but that's one of those I would have been like, fuck this. Like, if I was Aragorn, I'd be like, your oath is fulfilled the second we get that asshole out. Once it's done, I'll let you do whatever you want.
Yeah, and to give Lord of the Rings, the movie, more credit because we're talking about that scene. I didn't realize how good of a job. Um, is it Fran Walsh, right?
Yeah.
Fran Walsh and Peter Jackson did at adapting the screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's pretty, and when they're creating actual scenes that aren't in the book, they're only told or hinted about in the book,
Mm-hmm.
where it's never actually like showed to you. They do a great job at that. So
I mean, it truly has an argument for the greatest movie of all time. So
I
it
wouldn't go
makes
that
sense.
far, but it is great.
I mean, if we're talking about award worthy stuff, Return of the King legitimately has an argument to be the greatest movie of all time.
What's your favorite part of that battle of the one we're talking about? Is it the
Uh,
speech?
it's either the speech or it's Eowyn taking out the Witch King. I think it's the speech. I get goosebumps and tears every time I'm getting tears just thinking about it right now because
I
that is the moment where of all the people of Middle Earth, I I think I like the Rohirrim the most in terms of like the men because when you think about it, although they're embroiled in conflict, they don't have to do half the shit. They just do it because it's the right thing to do. And the fact that the speech is, we're cheering for death. We know we're going to die. Yeah. And we do not care because we are going to give somebody hope.
Theoden just wants to die. He loves it.
I mean, Theoden, that's something that's really well done in the adaptation. When you first watch the movie, you're kind of like, kind of seems like he's a little too obsessed with death and glory. And then when you read the book, you're like, no, he's an old man who's had to lose everybody in his life, and he's looking for his end, and he wants to make sure his end is worthwhile. So when that speech happens, and he's screaming death, and he gets the Riders of Rohan screaming death, there's not many moments in movie history that get me that emotional.
Yeah.
In also, comparison.
Quick shout out to like the extra work.
Yes.
In the scene. So yeah, that's why it wins.
Yeah.
Talking about Titanic now, I think it's incredible. Like
the special effects of this are impeccable.
In terms of scope, I'd say it's just as epic as Lord of the Rings.
I can't agree with that, but I think it comes close.
You have to consider it's 6 years earlier. And Weta was not created yet. Weta was its own thing that was pretty much created with Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
like in conjunction. So, like Weta, the visual effects house, and Weta, the workshop, where they create the actual props and everything. So, it is quite a feat in terms of the visual effects and everything, considering its time. It's pretty goddamn
Oh,
amazing.
no, it's very impressive. I think the best part about the scenes again are those character moments through spectacle. Where as much as I've shit on the man in this podcast, you gotta give the fucker credit. James Cameron knows how to apply character in spectacle. Nobody is Spielberg, and outside of the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson is not Spielberg.
Agreed.
Like he hits the same level of magic in Lord of the Rings to the point where you could even go, there are some moments here that I think he does better. But outside of the Lord of the Rings, he does not have the body of the work to justify the master title, the level of Spielberg. James Cameron's got it. He ain't Spielberg, but he's damn close in terms of creating the spectacle but making you care about your characters during the spectacle. And that's a rare gift in filmmaking. So I appreciate that. When the people are hanging from the railings, that's tremendous. And the breaking of the Titanic.
I was going to say, I love the moment when it starts cracking.
And it's slow. And it builds tension.
Well, it would be in real life, considering how big of a fucking ship it is.
But I love when the ship's just like almost upright. And you're like, fuck. Just think of how many people are down below and they're fucked. And there's no way they got out in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I love it. That's why I have to give it at least 4.
Well, it's stuff like that when you realize movie studios don't really know what they're talking about half the time. There was a movie, what was it? Cliffhanger, or not Cliffhanger, but something starring NFL legend Howie Long when they were trying to make him an action star. And Titanic was just burning through money, and the studio just wanted to get rid of it. And all the reports about Titanic where this movie is going to flop, it's going to be one of the biggest flops in movie history. So, in order to show the action movie that everybody wanted, you had to take Titanic. It was like an old school deal where they said, if you want to show this movie, you have to show Titanic. Because no one was on board with it. And then you see scenes from Titanic, you just went, how could anyone have that thought process?
I'm pretty sure the movie you're looking for is called Firestorm.
Thank you! I thought it was Fire Sale, but yeah, it's Firestorm.
Yeah, because that's the one that came out in 98, so it must be that.
But yeah, there was if you wanted to show that movie, you had to take Titanic. And the funny part is, Titanic just kept running.
Yeah.
For months and was unbeatable. Like, everyone just kept going to see Titanic, and no one gave a shit about Firestorm.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's just smart marketing by the studio.
Titanic's 20th Century Fox, right?
Yeah.
They did the same thing. They did the same thing with Star Wars.
All Cameron movies are.
They did the same thing with Star Wars. Star Wars, everyone thought was going to suck, but The Other Side of Midnight was a really popular book. It was also produced by Fox, and they said, if you want to show Other Side of Midnight, you have to agree to play Star Wars. And then every theater was buoyed for thousands of years afterwards because they showed Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean, they both won Best Director. They both won Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, makes sense.
They both won production design. Like, they're very comparable scenes, but in completely different ways.
Absolutely.
They're just in terms of size and scope.
Right. Titanic is wildly impressive. and the disaster is at its peak as it's snapping. Because even still, you don't have hope. You know the Titanic sinks. We all know the Titanic sunk.
Yeah, you know the outcome, yeah.
But you have hope that your protagonists are going to make it. That's that first moment where you're like, I ain't sure everyone's going to make it. And I'm usually rooting for someone to die, not because I want the protagonist to die. It's more so it gives that realism and those stakes even more, which is why I'm a huge fan of killing a character off in a way that people don't see coming, because then everyone goes, nobody's safe. So everything matters afterwards. There's that the second that ship just cracks, you're just like, someone's got to go. But you're like, I don't want that to happen. I'm in love with these characters, but someone's not making it out of this one. So it's interesting nonetheless. Titanic, again, it's a great scene. It just doesn't have the Rohirrim.
Yeah, it would have won in a lot of different matches, I think.
I mean, I'm just looking at the matchups in this bracket. I think it loses maybe 3 of those matchups, depending on the movie.
Yeah, 3 or 4, yeah.
But it wins the majority of against... If it got matched with pretty much any other loser or some of the winners, it wins. So, it would have done fine, but...
Luck of the draw.
Yep, luck of the draw. So you said 6-4 on that one?
Yep.
Alright, so we have a win of 14-6 for Return of the King, and we're going to go to our final matchup in the Arnold bracket in the round of 64. We have the Catacomb Escape from John Wick 2 taking on the Quicksilver sequence from X-Men Days of Future Past, where they spring Magneto from prison. How'd you score it?
8-2 X-Men.
I went 8-2 John Wick.
Oh, wow. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
So the reason I did 8-2 X-Men, one is because I've seen so many scenes like the one in John Wick.
Okay. We've had this discussion, and I was there for it for most of the part. But...
It's a shootout scene where he's taking cover and he's blowing people away. That, to sum up, like, in the most general way, that's what it's about.
Sure.
The X-Men scene in the most general way is like, it's a super speed superhero. I guess that's like the most general way to describe it. I just don't, there's no other scene like the X-Men scene in this tournament. I always give points for like originality.
So here's my concerns with the Quicksilver sequence. I think it's incredibly unique, as you said. It's a very interesting and unique scene. How much of it is action, I'm not sure. But it's a very different way of saying it. So it's hard for me because it's incredibly artistic, a lot of fun. I don't know if I like it more than the Nightcrawler scene. And that's where I go, it's kind of the Nightcrawler scene for the next generation of X-Men fans. This is the way I kind of put it, the equivalent of it.
Yeah, it's all action, but it doesn't seem like action because it's slow motion.
Yes. So, I think it's super unique the way they are able to equate what super speed would be like.
Mm-hmm.
That's an ingenious way to show it.
Yes.
Where it wouldn't just be... Because theoretically, if you and I were around a super speedster, we wouldn't see shit. No one would see anything. You know, you'd need the best technology in the world, GPS tracking and everything else to even catch the person running.
Yeah. And I think physically that probably is what the world would look like to someone with super speed.
Yes.
We would look slow rather than him looking super, super fast.
Right. We would... It's a great way to interpret a speedster. Is it the most faithful Quicksilver? Not sure about that, but...
I don't give a shit about that.
I don't really care because I also gave points to a Batman that kills people. So I'm not here to. I ain't here to magically say is it the most faithful version of it. It's actually relatively short, which is totally fine and understandable with the amount of effects and things that you had to put in to make that scene work. Again, I think it's a great scene. I'm the one who said that scene's got to be it. The reason I went so strong John Wick was, to me, this is the peak of that franchise. That catacomb scene is, I think, the best thing that John Wick's ever done. But I love that it's all set up perfectly beforehand. So you understand and anticipate everything that's going on, and any time that your character is in danger, you immediately are going, I know there's something right there. Just come on, John, get there. So you have the setup, and there are stakes the entire time with the clear babyface and heel dynamic. And I also think it's a really interesting and unique place to be in terms of the catacombs, where you have this huge historical thing to deal with, and you're getting to use it in a modern chase shootout sequence.
I would agree with that, but it's shot at night, and it's so dark that does it utilize that setting to its fullest?
I think it does because of the claustrophobia brought on by it. But that's just me. Because I think it also lends more to the characterization of, John Wick 1 really introduces Baba Yaga. He's this ghost that cannot be killed. John Wick 2 is where he is truly Baba Yaga, where it's just no matter what you do, no matter where you go, you are not safe. You've pissed off John Wick, ergo, you will die.
Yeah.
And that's why I love the character moments. So that's why I went so much more John Wick than Quicksilver. I don't think you are wrong for going the opposite way.
Yes.
And the taste of it. Because I think there's a good mixture of shootout action and physical action, and it doesn't get too... It's not so John Wicky style.
To argue for character moments, I'm going to argue that now for X-Men. Right before the scene, the reason it happens is because they're in the Pentagon, and Magneto can't use his powers against those bullets because they're not metal.
They're plastic, yeah.
And then also, Charles can't use his power because he has been paralyzed, but he takes like a drug to counteract that.
Which is also ridiculous, but that's fine. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. But because he takes that drug, he also can't use his powers anymore.
Right.
So that gives characters depth. And then the people shoot, so it gives actual stakes.
Yep.
And it's only at the very end of the scene that Quicksilver spreads the bullets so they won't hit the people. Probably should have done that at the very beginning, you would think.
Yeah.
But that's the character moments that I like. And it does show a lot of character moments with Quicksilver where it shows him as the quipster kind of guy, where everything he's doing is just a joke, like having people punch themselves and stuff like that,
giving a guy a wedgie, all those things. Yeah. I do like those moments quite a bit. I think if we're gonna argue in terms of uniqueness, I think Days of Future Past will probably take it then.
Let's do. I say we do a coin flip.
You want to do a coin flip for it?
Yeah.
By all means.
Okay. I'm gonna go on Google.
Okay, coin so let's, just because it's top and bottom of the bracket, let's go John Wick heads, Days of Future Past tails.
Okay. Heads.
I was just ready to give you Quicksilver.
It's all good.
I mean, no matter what, it's going to lose in the next round.
I was about to say that. I was like, it's not going farther.
We'll go John Wick 2 on the tiebreaker.
Okay. that X-Men scene is definitely one where it's gonna be higher up when we rank them.
Oh yeah, in terms of a loser, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where it went. But that is our final matchup. And hey, it's fun that we got the dramatic one at the end. So in terms of the disagreement, that's awesome. But that is our final matchup of the show, and we are now ready for the round of 32. Going into the round of 32, you have Saving Private Ryan taking on Top Gun Maverick. Just fucking stake me like a vampire right now for that one. You have Once Upon a Time in Hollywood taking on Mission Impossible 6. So we have comedy versus holy shit helicopter moment.
Yep.
You have Mad Max Fury Road with all the jumps over the tanker and everything taking on the icon of Wonder Woman coming out of the trench. Then you have the Ride of the Rohirrim and Return of the King taking on the Catacomb shootout from John Wick 2. Something is telling me Dylan is going to score that 10-0.
Probably.
But that is our final matchups going into the round of 32, and this has been a great episode of the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast. If you want to see those initial games and matchups in the round of 32, go check out the next episode of the ONETA Show. That's going to be debuting on Tuesday. See you then. Let us know who you think should win. But go enjoy some great movies in your day. Peace, love, and hugs to you all.
Peace.
Goodbye!